Hey guys, what's up? MurderofBirds here, and this is my RWBY Volume 2 Episode 5 review. I watched it last night, but I was extremely tired, so I went to bed, woke up this morning really early. I was like, hey, I'll make it out as soon as I can. But this episode was actually really awesome. We got a lot of content in this episode, especially since last week we got that little World of Remnant segment, so it wasn't really something that could fill the void of having a really good substance episode. Pyrrha went in. We got some development with Jaune, and planned at least as how Cinder and Mercury and Emerald are moving forward with their plans and operations of overthrowing the school or just forwarding their plans in general. So first thing I gotta say is I am so glad that we got to see Pyrrha in this light, because in Volume 1 we didn't really get to see her showcase her abilities or her fighting style in a sense. I mean, we got to see the battle with the Deathstalker, but that was more along the lines of her team coordination versus just her as a person, as well as the food fight in the first episode of this volume. But this episode, Pyrrha is literally on another. There's a reason why she's a top student. There's a reason why she's like in a league of her own. She's world renowned. She went up against Team Cardinal, which, by the way, at this point, to me, they're basic. Like, they're basic bitches. I'm gonna call them out right now. Like, they have the most conventional weapons. They don't have any type of style or creativity or flow to their attacks, kind of like Team RWBY or Team Juniper, especially like with Pyrrha and Nora, and then the whole Team RWBY has their own style of fighting, like from their trailers. And I just look at Team Cardinal and I'm just like, why are you even at this school? You know what I mean? Like, why are you guys? I can understand they were pushed for the development of Jaune in Volume 1, but now it's like, you're in this vital tournament, or you're trying to qualify, and all four of you got blitzed by one member of Team Juniper. Granted, she is renowned and she has that skill to back up, the fact that she's just on another level compared to them. And it's like they got wrecked, like destroyed. And I just love Pyrrha's fighting style, how she uses her sword, and then it turns into a spear, and then it turns into a rifle, as well as using her shield, which they're both named. Miluo is the spear or the sword. It means speak in Greek, and then her shield is called Akuo, which is Greek for listen. That was actually a little tidbit from the Volume 1 Blu-ray commentary, but I just thought I'd mention that for those of you who didn't know. But anyways, like, she just completely destroyed them. Her style of transitioning to those three forms of her weapon just make her a force to be reckoned with, essentially. And one scene that I freaking loved, which was the final blow to Team Cardinal, was when she jumped off of her shield and grabbed Cardin, flipped him in the air, and then like slammed him on like his neck, essentially. I'm surprised he didn't die. Thank God there's aura in this show, or a lot of these characters would have Pyrrha would have just committed mass murder. But that's like, and the Montium, like, I am so captivated by his action scenes and how he does things, because I was just like I was in awe. And then it kicks it up again with Mercury, and I'm like fanboying right now. I need to calm down. Mercury decides to take it upon himself to verse Pyrrha to test the waters a bit. I mean, he wasn't in there serious, like we already know, and by the end of the episode it's evident that he was just gauging her skill and trying to figure out her semblance and all that stuff, see if she's a threat to Cinder and their plans and all that stuff. But his fighting style is insane. If any of you guys know, are into video games, if you guys are any of you avid fighting gamers in the fighting game community, Hwoarang from Tekken is a kickboxer, and Riggs from Dead or Alive is also a kickboxer. And I watched a commentary with Montium, and he mentioned that, I actually believe it was a live stream, but he mentioned that Mercury's design, at least when it comes to his fighting style, is heavily influenced from kickboxers like Tekken's Hwoarang or Dead or Alive's Riggs. Also from old school, kung fu movies like with Bruce Lee and stuff like that. Just the whole, and you see it in Mercury's fighting style. Like, I was watching it with my friends, and my friend Aaron was like, "Oh, that's definitely Riggs," and my other friend's like, "Yo, that's Hwoarang," and those are just influences that are what make Mercury's fighting style, is like those bits and pieces of other references from other sources. So I thought that was already insane. I thought that was awesome. He actually held his own against Pyrrha, and I thought for a moment he was going to take it seriously and just seeing like, hey, I can fight you. But little tiny tidbit for you guys, Montium also mentioned that Yang's weakness is people who kick. He mentioned that mainly because Yang's trailer, when she was going up against Melanie and Melcia, she had a problem fighting Melanie yeah, she had a problem. Wait, is it Melsha? Melsha's the one in the white, I think. Yeah, the one in the white. She had a problem fighting her because she was a kickbot, because she kicks, and Mercury kicks. So I feel like that they're destined to battle each other now because of the fact. And if you look at the trailer, I mean, if you look at the opening, when it shows like Team RWBY going up against Cinder and her accomplices, it shows Mercury attacking Yang. So I'm expecting something like that in the future. But first bit of the episode was phenomenal. We got Pyrrha. We got her going ham. She just freaking wrecked Team Cardinal. I'm sorry. And we got Mercury, and we got to see a little bit, showcase a little bit what he can do. Next up, I'm hoping we get to see Emerald, see what she can do with her like gun blades or anything like that. But moving on from there, Blake. This episode kind of ticked me off a little bit in the term of Blake's development, in the sense that it's backpedaling. Volume 1, she had the whole deal with her being a faunus and trusting people and all that stuff, and she made it evident to her team that if anything was bothering her, she would come to her teammates and they would work it out as a team. All right, this volume, her team ended up confronting her on the subject of, she's worried about the White Fang, Torchwick, Cinder, all these hidden, plans and orchestrations that they have no idea of. And this episode, it's to the point where it's become obsession to her, where she can't eat, she can't sleep, she's got mean bags under her eyes, and she's very irritable. She doesn't want, she's very docile, she's not communicating with her team. Sun's trying to invite her to the dance. It's obvious that he likes her, and she's just shutting him down for really no reason whatsoever. They get along very well. They're both faunus. They have a history from Volume 1 to Volume 2. And also she's pushing away her team, which I can understand the situation, but at the same time, it's like your team is there to support you. And her team even went to great lengths, was like, okay, we just want this one day for you, cool your head, get some sleep, have fun, enjoy yourself, and then we'll re-up the next day and continue our search. And she just doesn't want to have anything to do with it. At this point, I'm thinking, like, who's going to be able to break through to her? Because if Sun can't and her team can't, what's going to keep her from bouncing back from this? So that's something that I really want to look forward to when it comes to Blake. Her development's been phenomenal, and she's one of the most complex characters in terms of her backstory, in terms of her her development throughout the entire series, with talking to Ozpin and all that stuff. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm also wondering if she'll end up meeting Adam in this series and maybe heal somewhat. That's kind of like a wishful thought. If maybe he'll try to bounce back, have her bounce back from this. So that's something that I also noticed and wanted to mention was, the whole thing with Blake this episode, because that was very important to me. Also, it was briefly mentioned, but Team Coffee, CFVY, was mentioned this episode. They're on an away mission, which is why they haven't been showcased. Team Coffee, for those of you who don't know, is with Velvet Scarlatina, the girl with the rabbit ears from Volume 1. Her team is consisting of Coco, Fox, herself being V for Velvet, and Yatsuhashi. So these 4 characters haven't been showcased, but they have been shown, in the opening, so you can, get an idea of what they're like and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping they make an appearance this volume. It would be counterproductive to show them in a trailer and then not show them in the episode. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. They are at an away mission, so hopefully they'll probably be back by this weekend for the whole dance that's going on. So that's something else. Moving on from there, Jaune. Jaune. He's a great character. He's one of my favorite characters of the series, but this dude is very dense, to say the least, okay? Before I get into that, he's improved immensely. From the first episode with the food fight, his coordination when he did like the flip and did a flip, grabbed the watermelon and threw it, that right there already told me that he's got coordination. He's not clumsy. He's not a klutz. Yeah, he still has his awkward social graces, with the way that he talks. He's like, and stuff like that. But he is he's got a lot better foundation than what he had in Volume 1. All right. And from this episode, showed him training with Pyrrha. She mentions that his sword play is getting better, which is so great to hear, because it's like you're actually fulfilling the role that you wanted from the beginning of wanting to be a warrior, wanting to be a huntsman, and all that stuff. And he's honestly improving, and I'm really glad to see that, because I feel like Jaune's going to be very, very focal in the next episode, as the series goes on, with learning his semblance, because Pyrrha mentioned that he's got a lot of his semblance to the point where he can auto-regenerate when he scratched himself in Volume 1 on the tree. And I just feel like he has an immense potential. Like, if any of you guys, he's just a really great leader, and he's got a lot of potential, and I'm really glad Pyrrha is helping him out. So on that front, on that note, I really appreciate his development. What I don't appreciate is how dumb and dense and idiotic he is, and I mean that in the best way possible, towards Pyrrha. And I guess I'm saying this from my set, a little bit with a bias, because I do want Pyrrha and Jaune to end up being together. But if you take all the context clues that we've gotten up until now, it's evident that she has an interest in him. When she first met him, let me start from the beginning, all right? Jaune has a thing for Weiss. Why? Because in Volume 1, she was joking with RWBY, like, oh, we can paint our nails and talk about cute boys like tall, blonde, and scraggly over there. And he took that literally to heart, to the point where it's like, she's interested in me. And ever since then, it's like, hey, Snow Angel, and he's trying to put the moves on her and stuff like that, asking her what she's doing, and she's frankly just not interested in him, to the point where it's like, it should already be concrete in his mind that Weiss doesn't want, she doesn't see you that way like you do. And then when it comes to the dynamic of Jaune and Pyrrha, I can see why he's not taking in consideration Pyrrha might be a good option for me, or Pyrrha's interested in me, or, this is a really good girl. She's a really nice girl. She's helping me out. We're spending a lot of time together. She's a prodigy in of itself with being a huntress, and, we get along already. But I feel like in his mind, the fact that Weiss put him in a position in Volume 1 where it was like he was trying to talk to her about being on his team, and she was like, do you really think you're in a position to ask her to be on your team? She's top student at Sanctum. She won the Mistral Region 4 years in a row. She's on the cover of every Pumpkin Pete's Marshmallow Flakes box. So in that mindset, I can understand why he's not even giving Pyrrha a chance, because he feels like they're in different leagues. But when you think about it, Jaune, like, let's be real. She's a member of your team. So no matter what, and she's your teammate. Them two are paired up for the next 4 years together. So by the end of the series, you're not going to know anyone better than you know your teammate, than you know Pyrrha. So right off the bat, one, Pyrrha is your teammate. She's on your team. She's actually taken her time out of her day to spend time with you, not just to train, but if you read between the lines, it's like she wants to spend time with you. If this was just a whole training seminar, she wouldn't be all about, oh, okay, you want to do the next. She would just be like, okay, we're training, and then that's it. Don't talk to me. Just focus on the task at hand. So to me, it's like, I don't know, and it's evident. It's clear as day, and he just doesn't get it. And I feel like this dynamic is going to forward into the ball, because from the Volume 2 trailers that they showed before the series started, it showed that Pyrrha is going to be going through a little bit of troubles when it comes to, she likes Jaune, but Jaune doesn't notice her, and it's kind of reversed in a sense that Pyrrha is now friend zoned from, Jaune put her in the friend zone, or however you want to look at it. But I just personally think that Jaune's just very oblivious to everything, and then the whole aspect of the love triangle or whatever, because Pyrrha has a thing for Jaune. Jaune has a thing for Weiss. Weiss has a thing for Neptune, and I feel Neptune's just a ladies' man. He just goes for whoever, and I will go as far as to say he has a thing for Yang, because when they were paired up in Episode 4 and they were driving, he was like, oh my gosh, what a woman, like just by the way Yang does things. And I feel like Weiss is going to essentially feel how Pyrrha is feeling because she's like, yeah, I have someone in mind to take me to the ball and to the dance, and I feel like she's going to ask Neptune, and Neptune's going to be like, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm taking Yang, or I'm taking some other girl, and then she's going to feel just like how Pyrrha's feeling, because Pyrrha wants Jaune to take her, just like how Weiss wants Neptune to take her, but they're both going to end up getting shut down. So I really I'm gonna be interested to see if Weiss does get shut down, how she handles that, and how that reciprocates to Pyrrha. So I felt like that was the bulk of the episode pertaining to the relationship, the romance subplot that the series is going into right now, because that's one of the main things that the RWBY community is very adamant about, and that is the shipping. Everyone wants to see who everyone's going to be paired up with in the end of it, and this is one of those moments where I personally and honestly want Jaune to be matched up with Pyrrha. I just feel like that's the most reasonable and sensible pairing out of everybody else. Same thing with Blake and Adam, just because they're fondest and they get along well, and that's just it just works. So there's that as well. But the last bit of content, I feel like this is a really long video, by the way. But anyways, the very last part of the episode, Cinder Fall, Emerald, and Mercury. It seems like they are gathering intel because they were going down, the people, of all the matchups that went down that day. We only got to see Pyrrha's, but apparently everyone participated, and Cinder and them are pretty much doing recon work, surveying everyone's abilities, their semblances, what they're capable of. And something that Cinder said really got to me. She said that it's not about overpowering your opponent, it's about taking away what powers they have. Now that strikes me as odd because from what I'm taking from this, the powers that they have are regards to their semblances. And their semblances are, I would assume, are innate to the point where it's like it's a representation of you, your soul, your manifestation of your aura, and all of that stuff. So it's like, how are you going to take away that power? Number one, and number two, how does that forward your plans? Because I understand the kids at Beacon right now, they are huntsmen and huntresses in training to where they will eventually be the ones who uphold the peace and order in the world after they graduate. But Cinder and them are trying to cut them off at the knees to where they won't have time to, because they're already in the school where if something goes off, they can just set it off like crazy and they'll be caught off guard. So that's one thing that really caught my attention, was like, okay, it seems, I don't know if it's from the accumulation of all the dust that they've acquired, or if they're like learning about some ancient archaic form of dust that they can siphon powers away from people. But the way that she made it seem like they have the ability to take away people's semblances or people's powers or their skills or whatever that makes them a threat. And she was like, yeah, add Pyrrha Nikos to the list because they know about her semblance of polarity. That's very interesting because a lot of people in this series have a lot of, like, RWBY has speed, Weiss has glyphs, Yang has like her Super Saiyan powers. We don't know anybody else's on Juniper's besides Pyrrha, which is polarity. So it's like, I'm really looking forward to seeing how they're going to go about doing this. And then lastly, I will mention two things actually. One, the RWBY community has, I guess, formed a theory that maybe Cinder has like a voodoo doll type of ability where she's able to control the actions and reactions of certain people. Like Blake, for example. Blake's really, and this is just a theory. This isn't something that I necessarily am thinking or supporting. It's just something that I want to bring to attention. Is that Blake has been, very eerie. She's been very irritable and stuff like that. And maybe it's because it's her feelings aren't her own. Maybe she's under some type of spell. Maybe she's under some type of ability that she's unaware of when it comes to, because it showed Cinder, weaving and threading. And people are like, hey, what if she's threading like a voodoo doll or something? I mean, I can understand that concept, but there's nothing really to back that. But what I will say is that I believe that the threading that she was doing is relevant to the first World of Remnant segment, which was with dust, when they mentioned that you can weave dust into clothing. I think that's what she's doing, because they have immense amounts of dust, and I feel like she's weaving like their combat uniforms, because I don't think Cinder's gonna fight in that dress, and I don't think she's gonna fight in her school uniform either. And I already have a feeling that RWBY's cape, RWBY's hood, gives her a little bit of a correlates with her speed semblance. But other than that, phenomenal episode. But besides that whole thing, I do believe that she is weaving dust into the clothes that she's making. But phenomenal episode. I'm really looking forward to a lot of things that are going to be happening here. We already got Pyrrha this episode. We got Jaune. We're going to see the dynamic between them two at the ball. Weiss, how she's going to deal with if she gets turned down by Neptune. Team Coffee got mentioned, so hopefully we'll see them in the next few episodes. I'm really hoping we do. Jaune needs to smarten up, and Cinder's plans are moving forward, and it's very interesting. We just gotta wait, be patient, and all that stuff. But thank you guys so much for watching this. I really appreciate it. If you enjoyed this or anything I had to say, please be sure to leave me a comment on the episode. I'll get back to all of you, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. I'd greatly appreciate that as well. But that is all I got, and I will catch you guys next week. Take care.